We are back. It's still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. And straight to our first major conversation this morning, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the Nigeria Immigration Service to make the country's borders impenetrable to infiltrators ahead of the forthcoming elections in a matter of weeks. This was contained in a statement made available to journalists by the Ministry of Interior yesterday, Tuesday. Now, Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola, through his media advisor, Shola Fashure, conveyed President Buhari's directive while inaugurating the Katsina NIS Command Office, that's the Nigerian Immigration Service Command Office, and the rollout of the enhanced e-passport services in the state. According to Aregbesola, the minister, Mr. President's order is between now and the period that Nigeria concludes all its elections. The Nigerian Immigration Service should make the country's borders impregnable even after the elections. Dickson Osajie, who is a security expert, joins us right now to discuss the importance of making Nigeria's borders impenetrable. He's a global security analyst. Dickson, it's good to have you back.
Thank you
on the
very
program.
much.
All right. What is the importance of having such a move, a directive to the Nigerian Immigration Service because of the elections? And what do we see happening? What's the danger if we do not protect the borders with extra security during the elections, before the elections, and after the elections?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning. And it's disturbing when I read that story because when disasters strike, the time to prepare has passed. You don't prepare during time of disaster or during time of trouble. You prepare ahead. That instruction or that authority coming from the presidency is baseless. Baseless in the sense that it's impossible. And let's just tell ourselves the truth, it's impossible. Nigeria is one of the most ungoverned space we have presently because when you look at the irregular routes in Nigeria, we have about 1,400 irregular routes, illegal routes, you can say, here in Nigeria. And asking the Nigerian immigration to make it impenetrable is a big fat lie. It is penetrable because the immigration service cannot perform any miracle as it is now. They cannot govern the 114 illegal routes as it is now. And they are short of manpower. Presently, the Nigerian immigration is about 35,000 strength capacity, governing a country sitting on about 923,000 square kilometers. And also, when you look at the Nigerian borderline, we are bordered by Cameroon in the east, bordered by Niger Republic in the north, bordered by Chad Republic in the northeast, bordered by Benin Republic here in Lagos, southwest. And telling the Nigerian immigration that they should ensure that the border should be impenetrable, I think that instruction is not going to hold any water.
So in other words, this is security tautology.
Tautology, thank you.
and just to add to that, also remember the fact where the Chief of Defense Staff sometime last year had admitted to the fact that about 137 borders of ours are porous out of, all of that. But, looking at it, how do we now manage the fact that our borders are porous with the elections? And you can't also ignore the fact that internally we're going through a lot.
Sure, we're going through a lot, like you rightly said. Now, I've just highlighted the borderlines, the nations that border us, just inclusive Equatorial Guinea, that is from the maritime point of view. This irregular route I'm talking about, is ungovernable. Most of these criminal elements, capitalize on that vulnerability and penetrate into the Nigerian space. And that is why, over the years, the Nigerian government has been fighting it so hard to, decimate these criminal elements that are, worrying the territorial space of Nigeria. So when you say the Chief of Defense Staff said 100 and something irregular borderline, for me, what they need to start looking at now is looking at the projection of technology, because no essential manpower will govern our ungoverned space. So what they need to start doing now, like some time ago, I've advised the Nigerian government to ensure that they, project a lot of drones to the Nigerian immigration. So if that instruction is coming from the presidency, then I should expect them giving them drones, because when we talk about security, security cannot be achieved by human capacity alone. There are three procedures. We have the human procedures, we have the technological procedures, and we have the processes. So now we have the human procedures, that is the immigration officers and men. We need to start looking at the technological procedures as well, which has to do with drone, surveillance equipment that will hover around our government space, pick in those threats, and also analyze.
I mean, just as I was waiting, Kofi is going to come in no time, but let's look at it, because it feels like we're always making an excuse that security challenges and issues that we're faced with is because we lack technology. We also say that with our elections, that if we can, have electronic voting, then everything is going to be okay. But we also forget the fact that this technology or this theory, whatever it is not operated in space. Humans operated. So are we taking out the human aspect of it? The fact that, there's corruption, people can compromise the system. For instance, Raila Odinga recently made a statement to us to the fact that, the beavers alone, technology can be manipulated, and that, these elections, we have to be very careful with it. Vice President James Osinbajo also made reference to the fact that INEC has to have our acts together. So is it enough to say, the DSS, the security officials actually need the drones? Will the drones alone be enough to solve the security issue? What about corruption? How about people who are compromising, giving information? The moles in the system.
All right, thank you. That's a very intelligent question. The main reason why technology is projected into the security space is to reduce the loss of life. Sometimes when you send in like 10 men to go and engage, let me say, some group of enemies in the borderline, you end up losing all the 10 men. Now, instead of losing the whole 10 men or 10 immigration officers, you send in technology. For example, now if you shoot down a drone, it's only going to cause a financial loss. But if you bring down a human being, it's going to cause human loss. Now, the essence of technology plays two roles. Now, technology captures crime in progress. Crime in progress in the sense that if we have about 500 irregular immigrants, because by default you don't classify any human being illegal. If you have 500 irregular immigrants trying to penetrate the Nigerian space without proper identification process, this technology goes to the space, pick them up, analyze it, and send it to the central command system, and the immigration officers and men at this point in time can go and lay ambush to these guys or, pick them up where they are. But if you start projecting the immigration officers and projecting our officers and men in this crime-prone environment, we will lose more men. We will continue to suffer losses, human-wise. That is why technology is introduced to reduce the high rates.
I'm sure they may have to go through Sambisa forest to get to some of these border points. Maybe they can do what the Army, the Navy, the Army and the Air Force have been unable to do. Which is to go through, and maybe as they go in, they might see some of these bandits and chase them. Because you've said that the points are quite widespread.
More than
1,400 entry, illegal, and it's very porous.
Very, very porous.
So it's if you hear the Minister of Interior saying the president has ordered that the border should be impenetrable, what does he mean? You ask yourself, hearing from you, are you an expert? It's now beginning to making me ask, what does he mean? Do these guys even know what
that was a joke? That was a joke.
Okay, but let's move on. What are the dangers of having a porous borders in an election period? What exactly are we up against? What's the threat?
Thank you very much. A borderless nation, I've always said, is a no nation. Just for example, maybe you look so good. Nigerian looks good on you. I forget to compliment you.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you.
You see what I tell you all the time.
I hope you're not planning to jackpot, because the rate of jackpot is so. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. You see, INEC has 4 years to plan. The Nigerian security agent has 4 years to plan. Someone who gained admission into a university 4 years ago is wrapping up to graduate from the university. So any person who is given 4 years to plan and did not plan within that 4 years it's a failure.
But are we looking at people who are going to come in and vote? People who can come in and be used for,
Violence.
Violence
Yeah.
to rig the election.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking at?
Well, we should be looking at multi-dimensional approach, because when it comes to security, you don't zoom in on a particular threat. You just try to expand and try to check around the space and ensure that you close up on all the loophole areas. Like in the last 2019 elections, we saw mass exodus of people coming from the Niger Republic to come and vote. We saw a mass exodus of people coming from the Chad Republic to come and vote. Now the question is, how did they gain entrance into the Nigerian space? We are captured, haven't been captured, then giving voters card, because definitely they can't come to Nigeria and vote without voters card. That tells you that INEC has failed in its area of responsibility as well. Because the last time I went for capturing, I tried to assess the processes. They'll just give you a form. Where are you from? What's your local government? Your father's name? Your mother's name? It's a defeatable process. Defeatable process in the sense that any person can come from any part of the world and just give the details where he or she is from, and you cannot verify.
So free for all.
Free for all, because there's no investigative process to go and check. KYC, know your customer. No investigation processes to go and check if truly the identity this guy gave us in this capturing process is really the process. But I think that is, operational laziness. If not, I don't think you can just open your system. People come around, you take them, give them form, sign. And for me, those voters card is just, let's just manage it.
Let's manage it.
Let's just manage it.
But nations traditionally all over the world, or at least in Africa, during election periods, will always shut down their borders.
Okay, why?
So
the reason why
is it not the same thing? Maybe we should cut him
recently Benin
some
Republic
slack.
had their elections
And they shut their borders. Ghana had
Yes, if
elections,
you
shut
shut
their
down
borders.
these borders, what about the 1,400 irregular routes I just talked about? That has been the problem. You see, the immigration service are solely responsible in protecting our national borders, not from external aggression, just protecting our national borders in the area of security, so that people who don't have the permits to come into Nigeria don't penetrate our national borders. Now, what the Immigration Service needs to start looking at presently is to carry out a crime mapping analysis of our national borders, ascertain all the vulnerable areas. I remembered 23 years ago, when I was in the front line, somebody came to give us an information in the borderline. And what the person told us was that some guys are trying to smuggle items in an ungoverned space. As at 23 years ago. Until date, we are still suffering from this ungoverned space. And one of the reasons why Nigeria is suffering from most of this high state of insecurity is because of the porosity of our national borders. So if the presidency or the government declares a state of emergency in our national borders, I tell you, security issues will mitigate. This state of insecurity will be reduced, because most of these guys, like one celebrity armed robber, I don't want to mention his name, he told us, he said it very clearly, he said, the reason why he succeeded in his armed robbery days was due to the porosity of our national borders. This guy would disturb Lagos, disturb Ibadan, disturb some states in Nigeria. What he does is that he would fetch this catch, go to Benin Republic, enjoy his life. When he's done with that catch, he will come back, strike the Nigerian space, and go back. So he said very clearly that the reason why he was successful in his days of armed robbery was because of the porosity of our national borders. So what we need to start looking at after this 2023 election, we have 2027 election. The Nigerian Immigration Service, there's an agency in the Immigration Service which is known as Border Management Agency, the Border Management Department, that are solely responsible for this. They should start looking at, carrying out an assessment of our national borders. Then go back to the Minister of Interior and say, sir, you told us that we should make sure that this place is impenetrable. We are sorry it's penetrable.
No, but I mean, it's the conversation, it's a question that I raised to you prior to this time.
Yeah.
If Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Rabo had identified or mentioned that we have 137 borders in the north that are unprotected out of the 261
Borders
that have been
or
approved.
routes?
Borders.
Okay.
So we're still talking about the fact that we're porous. I mean, we have porous borders. Right. And there's been identification by a highly, respectable military personnel, right? 137 of them. And, I like the fact that we're very precise with the communication, the language we use. These borders are unmanned.
They are manned, yeah.
So is that where the problem lies? Can we man these borders before, the 25th of February? No, because we're saying that the borders are unmanned. I mean, these areas are unmanned.
He's already said it's too late.
How can it be too late?
Where is the strength coming from? I have just told you that we have 35,000.
So we don't have the military.
If you want to deploy 100 immigration officers in those irregular routes, it will cover it. And that is why, for now, if we want to look at a short-time plan for now, then we should start looking at drones. Drone deployment of drones. When you apply drones in this most of these areas, I was watching a war film some few days ago, and what the Americans did was that they sent in drones to monitor the enemy line. Now, these enemy lines, they were coming to attack the Americans, and they were watching them. And they laid ambush on these guys. Before those guys could get to their area of target, they were all neutralized. Now, the essence of this drone is that, okay, we are watching them, they keep monitoring them, analyze the environment, carry out a satellite surveillance of that environment. Having carried out a satellite surveillance on that environment, what you need to do now is where you project the manpower. But if you are telling me now that you want the immigration service to go and start manning those borders, before they even get there, maybe they want to travel by road or whatever the case may be, before they even get there and deploy them, the election is over. So for now, this is not the time to give them such marching order. Such marching orders should have been given 4 years ago.
Are you saying that we should just go ahead and ignore the fact that we have 137? This is what is reported by the Chief of Defense Staff on man. We should just fold the arms and allow 137 unprotected?
I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to tell you is that it's not achievable. Let me tell you, for example,
so what is achievable?
Borno State, for example, is one of the biggest states in Nigeria with 76,000 square kilometers, like 3 times of Lagos State. Now, the travel capacity in Borno State, you can spend days to travel within Borno State. If you want to project these guys right now, you need to start looking at the risk implication as well, because the risk is high. If the risk is high, you have to mitigate the projection of manpower. Now, if we want to succeed in this very area, the military has to come on board to support the Nigerian Immigration Service. But if you want to start deploying the Nigerian Immigration Service to this high-threat environment, the risk is very high as it is now. The threat is high. If you project them in such vulnerable environment, we will lose a lot of men. So the whole essence of an election is not to lose our officers and men. The whole essence of election is for us to, have a peaceful and successful election. So for us to succeed in these very border issues, is for the immigration service, the Nigerian military, the Nigerian police, there should be a such form of integration. Because going by the strength of the Nigerian immigration service, they cannot cover our borderline. Right. That's what I've just said.
It seems like we may need to go and consult Donald Trump, so that he can tell us how to build that wall.
Oh, the Mexico wall.
In Nigeria. But I think another thing that could help us is a SWOT analysis, some sort of, maybe to look at the threats. And I've been asking you about the threats, which you've talked about. The fact that people from aliens will come into Nigeria and vote. That one is a foregone. You said it's that water has sailed from what do they call it? A marina wharf jetty. That boat has sailed already. Yes, it's irredeemable. But he talked about also maybe some of these foreign elements being used for violence, political thuggery. Since the borders are so porous, you have about 1,400 entry points into the country, unofficial, illegal.
Yeah.
Now, what can be done security-wise to make sure the election is not affected by foreign elements in the red spots, the flashpoints in the country?
Flashpoints, yeah, fantastic. You see, most times people address security without carrying out an analysis, without carrying out a risk assessment. Like you rightly said, take for example Lagos State now. If you want to ask me, which part of Lagos State do you think is a crime-prone area? In my own perspective, I want to say Oshodi, for example.
I don't want to say why. Let's not go there.
All right. For example, let me say Oshodi. Now, when you identify the crime-prone environment, what you need to do is to project reasonable security force. Because what we do here in our country is just like go, come. We don't carry out an assessment. We just carry out our men. We project them. Now, the immigration service will need to carry out an assessment, borderline-wise, and inform the Minister of Interior that XYZ location is where we are going to perceive the threats. Then going by the election, what INEC should be doing is that the security advisor to the INEC need to also carry out an assessment as well, because it's so disturbing. You see a lot of INEC facility being burnt down, a lot of voting materials being burnt down by most of these fifth columnists, if I may say, or most of these guys that just want to threaten our democracy. So what they need to start looking at is to carry out an assessment and ascertain most of the vulnerable areas where the risk is coming from. Because if you don't, for example, if you go to the hospital, for example, and you tell your doctor you're not feeling fine, it won't just give you a drug. It will ask you which part of your body are you feeling pains? What's wrong with you? So you say, the left side, my left side or my right side, this is where I'm feeling the pain. Then it will ask you how are you feeling? So during those process of diagnosis, the doctor will now be able to ascertain what the problem is. That's how security is being treated. In security management, if you don't carry out an assessment of what the problem is, you cannot project solution, because the reason why you need to carry out an assessment so that you'll be able to ascertain the number of manpower you project within that environment. Technological wise, you need to ascertain what you need to project in that environment, and also how to cut off the opportunity from these criminals.
So, I mean, we like the insight that you have, brought in. I mean, we're being very realistic, but let's even get to the point of you being an expert now. I mean, you have been in the system, and we're asking, is there anything, are there security measures? Is there anything that you can speak to, speaking to this government, speaking to INEC, what exactly can be done? Are there little measures that can be taken to ensure that we have this election, not entirely perfect, but, near perfect?
4 years, it should be perfect. If you say near perfect, I think INEC have done their best. So far, so good. The introduction of beavers is going to reduce the criminal activities, because most of these guys, what their plan is to come and snatch the ballot box. That's what most of this criminal element does, and also to disturb the election space and instill fear in the electorate. So the introduction of beavers has drastically mitigated let me say, the passive threats. Okay, now you ask me if I would like to advise, what will I advise? For me, what I would advise the government is that we must first of all have it in our mind that the time to prepare is not the time of the incidents. You have to prepare ahead of time, because I say that.
So no backup plan? I mean, we just get to see that.
That's the problem.
Kofi, if you see those movies,
yes.
I mean, there's always a backup plan. So
that's the issue. We don't have
so there's no backup plan.
We don't have a backup plan.
There can't be any backup plan.
We don't have any backup plan. But
can there be any backup plan?
There can be a backup plan. The only backup plan we should be expecting is just the capability and capacity of our security agency, because the threat we are expecting is not a biological threat, it's not a nuclear threat, it's not a technological threat, it's a human threat. So if you are expecting human threat, what you need to address human threat is human capacity and technological capacity, like I've earlier said. Now, beavers has already mitigated the area of ballot box snatching, which is a very good one from INEC. Now, what we are going to experience in this election time is violence, instigation of, projection of fear in the Nigerian space. So the security agent needs to assess most of this crime-prone area, like I've said it earlier on, that they need to assess the crime-prone area. Check where the threat is coming from. Take, for example, now, burning of INEC materials. We've experienced it from Ebonyi State. We've experienced it from Anambra State. Southeast. Then what the security agents need to do is to project reasonable security force in that environment, so that those criminal elements will be unable to penetrate such place.
It's very interesting. Yeah, we will soon be done, but you're talking about the security forces and the role they will play in projecting on some of these flash zones. But the element of compromise by the security agencies or operatives is a huge one. I mean,
which I made reference to.
In River State this week, the opposition parties in River State, particularly the SDP governorship candidate and the APC, they have alleged attacks, and they're saying the police in that state, the police commissioner maybe is biased. Some of them say that even police have actually attacked some of these politicians, or have been around, looking at thugs attacking, did nothing. One thing that really captures the compromise of these guys, in 2015, Nigeria, the federal government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, banned the importation of rice into the country. By the year 2020, Benin Republic a country of just 13 million people, about 13 million people, was said to be the seventh largest importer of rice in the world. They imported rice worth $663 million.
And we're getting rice from them.
So I wonder how many times a day people in Benin Republic eat rice for them to be a small country. So, I mean, you can put one and two together to see what's going on, you know. So, what about this compromise by security operatives, even military police or even immigration officials?
Indiscipline, and that is a disturbing situation. You see, when Americans say they are the world powers, they build their world powers from their military might. Russia claims their world power. They build their world power from military might. Any nation that don't stand firm to build the capacity, efficiency, and capability of its military and security agency, they are planning to fail. Because there are times you plan to fail, and there are times you plan to succeed.
So how can we get that discipline? Because it used to be there before now.
It has to be command. It has to be from the command control center. It has to be leadership. Because, like you rightly said, most times I've seen a lot of times we see videos flying around. You see police officers, military officers, soldiers, you know, abusing, Nigerians because they are carrying one or two personality and whatever the case may be. And most of these officers and men were trained with our tax money. So why should I pay tax for you to pay the police officers, and those same police officers are protecting the elites to intimidate the poor? That is a no, and that's why we need a transition. Because what is happening in Nigeria presently as it is, the fuel scarcity, the naira scarcity, because naira now is more valuable than dollar. Because those days you look for dollar, you don't get it, but now we're not getting naira. So what we are experiencing presently is closing ceremony of this administration. And this closing ceremony is very, very tough and very, very painful. But for me, if we want to get it right, every commanders must call their men to order. Every state commissioner of police must call their men to order. Because if we keep on experiencing this, how do you expect us to introduce community and state policing? If we introduce community and state policing, that tells you that most of these state governors, they will abuse that system.
No, but
we have to go.
Kofi, just before we go, I mean, I'm not expecting that you answer this, but if we blame the military for lack of discipline, and we say that we have lost professionalism in the police and in every security architecture, then is that entirely the problem? What happens to the motivation? What happens to the welfare of the military? I mean, look at that. How many times have we had of people protesting for allowances that have not been paid? Retired police officers, retired military officers. You don't even want to talk about, I mean, because by virtue of what they do, they can't even come out to protest. I mean, I think we're almost in that category. So you can't even come out to tell the people what exactly you're going through. So you have to wait to get onto that part. So, I mean, has there been any, what's the level of motivation for this personnel? Because you can't be demanding what you haven't imputed into. What would you be taking from a system you haven't invested into? These are human beings. We can't discard, their welfare and then expect that they perform magic and expect that they don't compromise and get in bed, with the terrorists.
I've made a lot of move about motivations. Motivation is very, very essential in management of our security agency, because for you to put your life on the line to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria, you need to be well taken care of. Health-wise, you need to be very well taken care of. Financial-wise, you need to be well taken care of. The motivations here in Nigeria is one of the weakest motivations I've ever seen in the whole of in the whole of Africa, because you see a soldier being paid 30, 50,000 naira, 60,000 naira a month, not even up to $100 per now. And when a soldier dies in the battlefield, their wives and children are being, sent out to the barrack within 6 or 3 months. Most of these motivations is what the new administration needs to address, because it is the government needs to declare a state of emergency.
On that is that if you're a corrupt official, all right, you can be paid $1 million, you're still going to do what you're going to do.
Oh, sure.
Because you're greedy.
Yeah, it's greedy.
If you're a corrupt commissioner of police who collects money from the governor to scuttle to the democracy and elections and to, do his bidding.
Your professionalism has been defeated.
It's just who you are.
That's who you are, really. But sometimes money can change a man.
Oh, yeah. Even the Bible says so. We have to go. We have more discussions ahead.
Definitely. When we return, we'll be looking at, wetlands and what exactly that means for us as Nigerians and also Africa as a continent. Please stay with us.